Okay, you can hear me? Okay, thanks for having me. And they say when you start a presentation, you're supposed to do either something poignant or something humorous, so I'm going to try and do both. Ladies and gentlemen, and other trans-identified people out there in the audience, I am about the most well-adjusted person I know. If I was any more well-adjusted, I'd die from boredom. I would also say that it is likely that most of you out there know a transgendered person. You just don't know it. So who are transgendered people? We are your family, we are your friends, we are your neighbors, we are your coworkers. A recent survey said that about 8% of the population say they personally know a transgendered person. So by raising your hands, how many of you people personally know a transgendered person? Wow, this is an enlightened audience. So for those of you who did not raise your hands, you probably know. Because my friends, when I was a boy, would never have guessed. My coworkers would never have guessed. If you had asked them 15 years ago when I was working in my profession, saying, do you know a transgendered person? It's like, oh no, I don't know anybody like that. Yet every day I was right there, right by their side, okay? And I normally do a presentation. This is going to be like 15 or 20 minutes, so I'm going to try and squeeze it as much as I can, and I tend to talk really, really fast because I grew up outside New York City. When you grow up outside New York City, you have to talk really, really fast because that's how you survive. So I'm also, as I'm getting older, it's like I'm getting dyslexic slightly. So as my favorite comedian Stephen Wright says, I'm also agnostic and an insomniac. I was up all night wondering if there really is a dog. I know you've all heard that one before. I've tried my hand at a little stand-up comedy, things like, I've got kleptomania, but I'm taking something for it. I used to be indecisive, now I'm not so sure. I've got an inferiority complex. It's okay, girlfriend, yours is worse than mine. So anyway, what will happen, part of what I do is I explode stereotypes. And the stereotype is that a biological male, which I am, that's up here in this great red suit, would be a florist or some other stereotypical effeminate profession, right? I spent 26 years in law enforcement, okay? So let's get this out of the way because it's like sometimes it's like I slip and his voice comes out. But I was very lucky when I was coming out and getting out and about. I did most of my presentations when I lived in Colorado, and I met Kathy Perez. Kathy is the proprietor of Exceptional Voice. Half of our clientele are with women that want to achieve a more professional voice that unfortunately have a mousy voice like that, you know. And then the other half is with transgendered, male to female transgendered people. So if my voice slips, because sometimes it does, it may be something like this. Could I see your license and registration, please? Want to step out of the car? Put your hands on the hood. Do it now. You just had to do that, didn't you? Just had to do the whole macho thing, didn't you? You just couldn't say something nice. Well, I think the people deserve to hear that. Okay, it's like, well, you're done. Go on back home. By the way, you're running up the credit card again. Okay. Anyway, see, there you go. The beauty about having an argument with yourself, you always win. So anyway, so hopefully he won't come out again. You go on back home. I'll see you later. And anyway, so I do a presentation called Navigating the Transgender Spectrum normally, and it's usually about an hour and a half to 2 hours. I just did a presentation for a group of certified medical assistants down at the new Richmond WITC campus that went very well. So what makes a biological male want to put on this great red suit? Well, I knew about myself when I was 5 years old. I knew that I liked the girls' clothes, but I knew I liked girls. And by the way, I'm happily married to a heterosexual woman. And I consider myself biologically straight. Gender-wise, I consider myself about 98% straight. And the reason I say that is I consider 1% because I'm a free thinker, like Dave. Maybe there is a male out there I could be attracted to. It's never happened. George Clooney, you know. The other 1% is because I'm somebody who thinks outside the box and kind of a free thinker is, I once had a guy at a bar try to pick me up, and he says, well, what would it take for us? I'm glad he didn't say hook up. I would have smacked him. He said, what would it take for us to get together? And I said, well, if you pick me up in your private limo, and then we go to a chartered jet, and we fly to Paris, and I have an unlimited credit card to buy designer dresses, and you wine and dine me, okay, all right, yeah, what the heck, you know. And he says, well, I've got a Cessna 1872, and we could go to Kansas City for barbecue. I said, no, it's not going to do it. So, my wife knows. She actually, the first time she ever laid eyes on me was like this. She's heard my talk many times before, and we couldn't get a dog sitter, so she's at home. We do things together. We'll go out to Minneapolis and see shows and go shopping and whatnot. She's entirely comfortable. She's a little reluctant sometimes where we live, which is near Bayfield in Washburn, Wisconsin, to go any place there, but she'll come into Duluth. And by the way, as I should say that my experience is coming into Duluth after having spent most of my time in Denver, which is a very open city, very friendly. Duluth has been great. I mean, I was not sure what I was going to get into the first time I came to Duluth, but it's been great. I've been received very well. I should say that I haven't had that many difficulties. The worst thing I can ever remember, again, speaking of experience as a trans person, was a guy who looked at me up and down like this. What are you doing to yourself? What are you doing to yourself? It's like, why would you want to be a woman? And what was he saying? Basically, why would you want to be a second-class citizen? That's what was coming out. Why would you want to be a second-class citizen? And what I responded to him is saying, you know, it's like, this is not a weakness. This is a strength. This helps give me balance. And as I've gotten older, this side of my personality has gotten stronger every year, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. I have no desire to change my biological sex. I suppose at this point in my life, if I woke up tomorrow morning and somebody had flipped the switch and I did wake up female, I probably could live with it, but it's not really something that I want. Not attracted to men, I guess I would say, I'm not attracted to men. However, I'm attracted to the idea that men might find me attractive when I'm presenting in my feminine persona, because that hits my vanity and my ego. You know, so it's like, okay, well, I must be doing something right. But other than that, you know. So I haven't had really negative experiences, but unfortunately our community does. In the last 3 months, I think there's been 7 African-American transgendered women that have been murdered in cities across the country. The trans community is subject to violence. Also, 41% of our youth commit suicide or attempt to commit suicide. The last one that made the news was about 3 months ago when the trans gal threw herself in front of a tractor trailer on an interstate highway. She post-dated her suicide note, and that was extremely poignant and very sad. Her parents tried religious conversion therapy and just did not want to listen. People do not want, for some reason, people do not want to listen to the feelings that other people have. I am not seeking attention. There is nothing wrong with me. My life is happy. I've been successful in my career, financially secure, married to a wonderful woman. I had a good education. I had a good childhood. I had good parents. I grew up outside Long Island, New York. My parents didn't abuse me. My mother or father did not make me wear a dress for punishment. So we can talk about the nature and nurture part of this as well, but I haven't got time. So what I figured is, as I was growing up, if the only thing that God, creator, maker, roll of the dice, happenstance, serendipity, coincidence, gave me as my challenge or hurdle is that I was a cross-dresser or a transgendered person, you know what? That was okay. Because I look around at the world and I see other people who have other struggles and other challenges and hurdles to deal with. And challenges are just hurdles in disguise, or is it the other way around? We all have our gifts and blessings, and I consider this a gift and a blessing. So I have fun with this. This is, for many of us, this is kind of like a hobby. Up until about 5 years ago, I considered myself a cross-dresser. Then I realized, no, this is part of who I am. There is an essence or energy or spirit that exists within me that I feel a need to exude this feminine persona. And it gives me a sense of balance. And I kind of have fun with it. And it's an incredible, interesting sociological experiment to go on out there when people figure it out. You know, it's like, honey, was that a guy? I think that was a guy. I might have been a guy. I'm not sure. Let's go. Why don't you go over and ask her something? And you can see, it's like you get at plays or theater, you get like this. And then they turn around and they look and they point and they try to figure it out. And then someone will have enough courage to come up and ask, you know. Or it's like if they don't do it, it's like finally I'll just go. It's like, what the heck? Where was I going with that? So anyway, most of us just like the look, the feel, and the fit of the clothing has always been. And I always liked, I mean, for me, if I saw a woman walk down the street in my male persona in this outfit, she walked down the street, I'd be like, oh, wow. And I'd walk into a lamppost, you know, because it's like, I find it just attractive, you know. Nevertheless, it's like it goes beyond clothing. And as they say, there's 50 shades of gay, there's 50 shades or more of transgendered. You will find the vast majority of cross-dressers probably at home on a Sunday afternoon, slurping a beer, watching the football game, wearing a dress. And that's all they may do. They won't do the hair, they won't do the makeup, they won't go out. The conservative thinking now is that 0.3% of the population identify as transgendered. I don't think that factors in the cross-dressers. If you put them under the transgender umbrella, conservatively, 1 to 3% of men cross-dress. And for you guys out there, and it's like, if you guys give me like about an hour, it's like I can get out of this outfit. We can go talk and have a beer and burp and fart at the bar if you want. We'll talk football, you know. Where was I going with that? See, it's like I get confused. Oh, come on, help me. It's like, where was I going with that? Oh, yeah. So they're saying that 3.3% is transgendered. Oh, man, it's like, I'll sell you my house if it's that. It's like it's at least 1 to 3% probably the population are transgendered. But it all depends. If you ask the crossdresser who puts on a dress like every couple of months or so, if they're transgendered, they'd say no. Or maybe they'd say yes. It just depends. And then again, if you think of sexuality and gender orientation, they are two separate things, but our society overlaps them for convenience. Ricky, you want to put that slide up there? Okay. This is just one slide from my presentation. Okay. I'll finish that thought. Let's make believe this. Usually I do it as a diamond. Let's make believe, if you can, that it's like this is a diamond. You guys make believe it's a baseball diamond. You gals make sure it's an actual diamond. So you got home, first base, second base, third base. For you gals, you got what? What is it? The cut, the color, the clarity, and the carat. Okay? So we start out here. And here I am in the womb. Boom. And I'm born. And I'm biologically male. There's the first step. Then it's like as I go through life, my outward presentation, how do I express myself? And where does that come from? Then we go through here, it's like, okay, how do I think about myself? So first you've got the physical attributes of your being, you got the emotional aspects of your being or the social aspects, and now you got the mental aspects of your being. Those are three separate, distinct things, entirely separate from who you want to have intimacy and passion with, okay? So if you look at it this way, it's like, here I come, a diamond. I am biologically male. Think of that as a 90-degree edge, okay? Let me come over this way to the second base, but my outward presentation is not a 90-degree angle. Take a jigsaw to that and curve it, because I like to be curvy. Now, so you go this way, and then it's like, now how do I think about myself? Well, this changes for people. It's not always, either one of these are actually static. So 20 years ago, I didn't think of myself as a woman that much, but as I've gotten older and this side of me has gotten a little bit stronger, it's like you can go ahead and take that edge off of there more than it was maybe 20 years ago. And then finally, take all these three things, and that's who you decide to share your passions with. So for me, it's like, it's just about a 90-degree edge. I'll just take a file to the edge of it because, as I said, I'm open-minded. Okay? So that's at least a good down and dirty type of, God, that's such a male cliche, chart of who we are and how we express ourselves. They're all different. So look at, well, by the way, about 1 in every 2,200 babies in this country are born intersex. You know what that means? Having either or neither. So they have to kind of decide. So where do intersex people fit in all this? I mean, that's a whole different thing, okay? You're not talking about sex or you're just talking, it's like, I mean, really, it's different, you know? If you took the chart as an example, and you had someone that was born biologically male, never put on a stitch of female clothing, but take this and take that 90-degree angle and just cut it off, just do it just like that. And I'm not even going to talk about that yet because there's a reason why. So what you have is a person who is biologically male, never presented themselves in any item of female clothing, but yet from the get-go, from the time that they could think, they knew that they felt female. They knew it, and that they were incongruent. And it's like they needed to do something. But years ago, it's like our society wouldn't allow that, and they would have went through their entire life not being consistent with who they felt. Now, the reason why I left the other side blank was for your consideration. This is where it gets difficult. So if you have a biological male that never dresses as a woman but feels female, feels like a transsexual, so what's their sexual orientation? If you think of it from biological sex, it would be homosexual. However, if you think and believe that what's up here, is more important than what's down here, then I would argue that this person, in fact, is heterosexual. Because they feel female, but yet they're attracted to men. So you see how difficult it gets? That's why it's more than 50 shades. We are all just different. It's very diverse. I have met some very interesting people. Excuse me a sec. 3 years ago, I went to the Creating Change conference in Minneapolis, and I met about 3 or 4 of what I consider my community, which is the male to females. And then I was surrounded by all these short men with facial hair. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of short men here. Just wow. And it took me like half a day to realize, oh, those are the female to males. And once they, stop the estrogen or start taking testosterone, for women, biological women, to go that way, I mean, boom, it's fast. I mean, it just happens fast. It takes longer for men to have the testosterone blockers and the estrogen to achieve some degree of femininity. From what I understand, and until I met all these short men, it's about a 55-45 split. So about 55% of the transgender community is probably male to female, and about 45 is female to male. And I wouldn't have believed that until 3 years ago. Let's see, what else is that I can talk about? I think I've probably done 20 minutes, so questions?